Well, good morning and welcome to Stroke of Genius podcast, Survivor Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Alva, 14 years post stroke and brain aneurysm. I got a special guest for you today. His book really tells you about his life. He's a survivor. Now he became an author and a survivor and went to a thriver. And his name is Gordon Pettit. Let's play this little crazy stroke awareness commercial and then bring him on. Hold on a second. Well, and there's the man of the hour. Good morning, Gordon.
Hey, good morning, Aaron.
I'm so happy you're here because I just really my podcast is really all about people that become stroke survivors but don't stay there. They turn on to go to thrive. You just haven't write a book about it. So, I please introduce yourself for the community.
Well, thanks for having me today and everyone that's watching uh, this show and all the work that Aaron is doing. I'm very humbled to be here with you, and um, my gift from God is to encourage more than ever. 10 years ago, it'll be 11 years in October, I had a serious stroke, and the effect is called aphasia. That's my brain injury. And when it happened, it was a very big surprise for sure, because I've always been thin and uh, fairly athletic. And the thing that really brought that around was stress. And I can talk at length, but I want to talk about one of the things I'd like to share with you. If it's a good time right now,
Right.
I'd like to share 12 reasons I have improved after my stroke. And by the way, having aphasia, like some of you know, but some of you don't know, aphasia affects communication. And so I could not work at all for the first 5 years after my stroke. And
So,
only
Gordon, was your favorite worse before?
was it worse before what
When
time?
you just took, was it worse? Have you improved? Because I barely notice your face now. So is
Oh,
it, was it worse real bad in the beginning?
yes, yes. Yeah, that's why I couldn't communicate hardly at all. Although my hearing was fine, I could speak fine, but I couldn't understand what people were saying. And what I thought I was writing, and I didn't forget how to write, but I couldn't understand what I wrote.
Oh,
And then
no.
no one else could understand what I wrote.
Yeah, then I've been serving the stroke community for about 10 years now. And I would have to say, out of all the deficits, me being in wisdom for 14 years, I know many of the deficits. There's only one that really breaks my heart. That's aphasia. Take away somebody's ability to communicate. I was locked in at one time, couldn't make a sound. But aphasia is so cruel because it takes away ability to communicate.
I agree. Definitely, I agree.
So, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I want to know more about you as a stroke survivor because I was reading a little bit about you. And you were actually healthy. You were not a candidate for a stroke, right? You lived a pretty healthy lifestyle.
I beg your pardon. I'm having some
Did
aphasia right now.
you lived a pretty healthy lifestyle
Oh,
before?
healthy. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. Except for I did have AFib, but it was controlled.
Oh,
If anybody doesn't know what that is, that's atrial fibrillation. Just basically, that is. Um,
is it your heart beating?
yes, it skips. Yes, and that can cause, and it did cause. Well, that's one thing combined with stress. That's how I woke. I woke up one morning and I could not understand my mother, and she knows how I speak normally, and I know how she speaks, even to this day, age 97. But yes, the communication, and I was so confused. I didn't know what happened.
So, Gordon, let me understand it correct, because I don't think I've ever heard. So you had no other deficits except aphasia. You weren't weak on one side, or what?
I was not.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's very unique.
yeah. Strictly, the part of the brain is called vase of voice. There you go again. Voice. I just forgot it.
Voice recognition.
No, voice.
Well, what's where speech anyways?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so I could, even though I could hear fine, by the time it came between the brain and what I could understand, and I could speak and understand people's words, I lost some of that, a lot of it early on, and for the first 5 years. Also, it weakened my heart. Um, I forget the word. Greatly, greatly. I took a morning nap for about 2 hours and an afternoon nap after I walked every day, 7 days a week, right after my stroke. And then I would awake from that nap from 4 to 6. And then I was okay until 10 or 11. And then I'd sleep until 7 or 8. And then I would fix breakfast and start all over again.
You know, the cool thing about aphasia is the effect, you know, thank God your wife's still with you, bro. I honestly, aphasia is one of the hardest things for a caregiver or care partner to deal with. And I really, I'm going to put you in touch with Genevieve Firestone. And she's going to be in my podcast soon. And she has started this aphasia collective. And a group of aphasia survivors that have survived aphasia. She is a speech language pathologist that really has a heart desire to help people with aphasia. So it may mind me to put your touch here there. But I'm curious now. Now, when you had your surgery, you woke up with aphasia, which I can't imagine. Oh my goodness! But you went from survivor to thriver, which is really, I mean, you defy all the odds. I mean, you to curl up to a ball with a face should not be abnormal, but you chose to write a book. And for those here's the book that Gordon wrote, everybody. I want you to see this. And I'll put a link to it in the description of the video. So take a look at that. Survive and thrive. Now, Gordon, that is your life, survive and thrive. You went from a survivor, you wrote a book, you said, I'm going to do something with this. I'm going to become an author. Now, have you been an author before this, or was this your first book?
This is my first book.
Unreal. So tell me a little about the book. What is the book about?
Well, that's a good question. It's about what life was like before it happened. I was working 2 jobs and I wasn't taking good care of myself regularly like I had prior to a lot of stress through my prior marriage at that time. And so then after the stroke, as I shared a little bit of that already, and so then after the hospital, I got home, I'd already begun taking care of my mother a little bit, very little. She was, you might say, she was a successful widow for many years, and she fell while I was in the hospital and cracked her pelvis and had a concussion, and she shattered her wrist, and she couldn't do much of anything. So I was back home, physically fine. Well, without the brain injury, but I was physically fine. And so I immediately took care of her.
Wow.
I cooked 3 times a week and cleaned a day, 3
With
times
the
a day.
aphasia. You help me.
Yeah, with aphasia. And so I had asked
You had your sister there.
my mother, and I had my sister she would come and stay with and look after both of us for 3 days and nights a week for a couple of months. And so she was, and from Greenville, South Carolina to Charlotte, that was 100 miles each way.
Wow.
And so fortunately she could. And so big help, because she would help telephone calls for me and all communication, basically all communication, except for talking to my mother and talking to my sisters. And although I still needed my sister to help me communicate with a doctor.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a big help.
It's important.
Yeah, it's really important to have that.
So I'm curious, Gordon, I need to know that you had AFib, which I don't know. AFib, I'm out there in the community. AFib is probably close to number 1 causer of stroke.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably.
And
untreated especially.
it really is true. I mean, I think AFib, my methadone has it right now, but you know, it's just terrible. It causes blood clots. What it does, it causes blood clots, and
Yeah.
so I guess you're pretty fine. But I'm curious, Gordon, you went from having AFib. So did you have any other warning signs outside of the AFib that you're about to have a stroke?
I really did not. And I want to clarify that my AFib I've been dealing with for 6 years.
Oh,
And I was taking Eliquis, and that worked really, really well for me. And so I knew to stay hydrated, whether I did or not, I knew to, and to exercise regularly, which normally I had, and tried to control stress, but I failed to deal successfully with stress and not getting enough rest prior to the stroke.
That is really a big point, because stress coupled with dehydration, coupled with, physical, it's like extreme I'm gonna have a stroke. It does. Stress is a very big cause of stroke, and
Yes.
people don't realize it. But it was. I think it was. It's unusual. I'm hearing you tell me that you have the AFib, but that was in control. But you still had the stroke. Now, that's just amazing. So, what were you doing? You were sleepy, so heard you stroke in your sleep.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Did you ever stroke in your sleep?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Yes, I did. I had it. I watched on a Monday night. I had a late supper and cleaned up the kitchen, and then I watched what was left of Monday Night Football, which I really liked for years. And so that was no big deal. And yeah, I woke up the next morning and couldn't understand what my mother said. So I told her, I said, well, I'm just foggy. So I'm going to take a run, which I didn't normally, not normally enough, but I had done many times in the past. And it was a nice day outside, fortunately. And so I'd take a run, come back, and then I immediately had trouble understanding again my mother. So then, fortunately, my mother called my oldest son at that time, and he still is, working in a hospital. He has a master's and is an anesthesiologist assistant. So he has a lot of knowledge about medical things and issues. And so he told my mother to drive me to the ER immediately. So bless my mother, she drove me to the hospital. And I still didn't feel bad. It was just I couldn't understand. Just couldn't
Wow.
understand.
Now, Gordon, I get to tell you right up front, out of the 10 years, I've been live streaming now for some time, not about 10 years, but I don't think I've ever had anybody say I had a stroke, and the only thing that was wrong with me is I couldn't understand.
Yeah.
I don't think I can't imagine what to be like to not understand. I was mute. When I first had my stroke, I was mute, but I couldn't hear. I couldn't speak any words.
Wow.
But to be able to not understand something that's being told to you, I just can't imagine. So, tell me how your wife dealt with this. Tell me how she went through your aphasia.
Well, the best she can. Fortunately, she's very patient with me. Occasionally, she gets frustrated because I get so frustrated. I
Yeah,
can't remember a
yeah.
name, or I can't understand word, or I can't remember words that I already know. It just sometimes, like a little while ago, I couldn't think of a word, but I know.
Yeah, I know it's extremely difficult. I mean, like I said, I really want to hook you up. You and her up with Jennifer Firestone. Amazing, amazing. Dedicates your life to helping people with aphasia and really focuses on the care partner, getting them involved.
Oh, no question about that,
Yeah, so
Aaron. I can't
remind me
emphasize that.
there. I'll forget I have a memory deficit. So I'll hopefully remember to tell you about it. But I don't think, like I told you earlier, I don't think I've ever heard anybody had no deficit except aphasia. I just think it's amazing. Now, what did you do for a living before you had your stroke? What did you do for work?
Yeah, I was a financial advisor. I was working with a national company from up north, but big operation in Charlotte.
That that is me. And you woke up, you're unable to. Was self-employed for 12 years. I woke up, lost everything. I had lost everything. I was self-employed for 12 years, lost my company, lost everything. filed bankruptcy. It was not pretty. It was pretty devastating, to say the least.
Yeah, I want to add, since you said that, Aaron, once I got home from the hospital, I did not think at all
Yeah.
about my business, all my clients, where I was used to go to work. And it didn't occur to me until after those first 5 years, did I even think about it?
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I'm hoping I'm really so grateful for stroke survivors that don't stay survivors. To me, Gordon, survivors are like treading water in an open ocean. You don't kick, you sink. But you went on to be a survivor. What point did you make that transition from survivor to thrive? When something clicked where you said, I'm going to write a book? I mean, come on. It's very rare that somebody says, I'm writing a book. Tell me about what inspired you to write that book.
yeah, I want to tell you, I'll try to guard myself from taking too long of our time today, but I do want to say that when I could work I had enough energy to work 8 hours a day. Once there was just that one day, and I thought, okay, well, I did it today. I'm going to try again tomorrow. And thank God I could keep working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. That was the first time in years. And I decided, well, since I can, then with the recommendation of a good friend of mine who was very successful as a financial advisor, and I asked him if I could just work part-time. He said, oh, Gordon, no, because he hadn't seen me in a couple of years since I'd had the stroke. And he said, oh, no, Gordon, you need to have your own firm. I said, I do? He said, oh, yeah, I'll tell you what to do and how to do it. It's no big deal. Well, I said, okay. And I followed his recommendation along, and I made very little money, but I really enjoyed it because I still had the aphasia looming out over me, you might say. And so then I didn't even think about writing a book until I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago.
Really?
It was during, my wife just helped me again. It was during the pandemic.
Oh,
a
yeah.
few years that started, then I was prompted by the Spirit to write the book about my experiences.
What worked?
What worked to become a thriver, as you put it, and I really like that. And so, and I happened to choose, with my wife's help, the title of the book. Yeah, and not to shortcut any understanding, but the book explains all of that.
So the book explains your journey from going survivor to diver.
Yes, and also what to do and not to do
Right.
after a stroke. Yeah.
Right.
And Aaron, as you asked me the last time, I don't know if you want me to now or if we have time, but I wrote the 12 reasons I improved after my stroke.
Oh, yeah, definitely share this. Sure, too. There's some time in the episode. Have at it, Gordon. I'm here for as long as you brought here.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Number one, rest and sleep enough.
Huh.
And I was aware of my body condition constantly. I should make this how I improved after my stroke. So, number two, I exercised daily by walking only the first year. I didn't do any physical other than cooking, cleaning up, that type of thing. And then after the first year, I began to go to a local gym. All I did was I walked on the treadmill because by that time, I just thought, well, that would be better. And because a treadmill would be safer than walking up and down and all around a neighborhood.
Right.
Number three, I talked with my mom every day and night. It helped to practice talking every day. And number four, read my Bible every morning. And number five, I ate a full breakfast every morning, a full lunch, a full dinner with meat and 2 vegetables every night.
Great.
Not much fun food, or occasionally have some some crackers in between. Number six, I watched Wheel of Fortune every night. And
Well,
not
here's the big one. You watch Wheel of Fortune, it imagines helping you
Word
speak.
recognition. You have to put word recognition.
oh yeah, word recommendation, recognition.
Right.
Sorry.
That's good.
Yeah, and that's what speech therapist recommended. And for me, the Jeopardy was too complex. It was too challenging. But
Yeah, Jeopardy is complex. But you told me that in the green room when we met last time, and I recommended that to another facial software that said you watch Wheel of Fortune. So she has started watching Wheel of Fortune now.
yeah. Well, I like it anyway.
Yeah.
My mother was used to watching that because that was my dad's favorite show when he was living. Number seven is I was committed to full healing with no deadline. I was eager to get better.
Wait, I'm going. I gotta stop you for now. That one's a good one.
Mhm.
Now, listen to the mindset, everyone. Listen to his mindset. Listen, which we Stroke TV Media believe. I believe, Gordon, that mindset is everything. You said, I believe I'm going to get better. And repeat what you said. Repeat what you said.
And you have those things you said to yourself every morning.
Oh, that's another thing. Yes, my wife just reminded me. For since maybe not long after my stroke, I started saying my affirmations that let me think just a moment. One of my affirmations is day by day, in every way, I'm getting better and better because the mind is so strong and powerful, even after aphasia. The thoughts, if I didn't control my thoughts enough, then I would fall into discouragement.
Depression.
Gordon,
And
I totally relate to that because I also have a dream or have a goal to write a book before I die called Stroke, The Journey Within. Because to me, my stroke has been a journey in my mind, really has. And you just said it. I'm going to repeat a scripture I know that says, "How man believeth in his heart, so shall he be." Or think of it as a mind. It's how you think, how you
yeah,
believe, that mindset that will judge you, that will determine your future.
very important. That's very well said. I believe that as well. Yeah, I can't emphasize that enough, because at times the frustration would get to me, and I would get impatient with my dear sweet mother. And she didn't do anything.
Yeah, no.
And although she was frustrated with the inability to cook, run errands, she loved to drive around her little area in Charlotte to different stores and then back home almost every day. And then all of a sudden, she couldn't even drive anywhere. And so she was going through that frustration while I was going through my frustration. And sometimes we got impatient with one or the other. So that's another reason why it's so important to have support with family and or friends. Yeah.
Well, nobody really loves you like your wife. I guarantee you, I do know your wife, but I know what the fish is like. God bless her, because what a blessing that is. Because that frustration that we take out as Turks of us, we take it out on our loved ones. We do. We get frustrated with ourselves, but we vocalize it to people we love. And it's hard to, if it's not for the love they have for us, they would have left long ago. So good for your wife, good for my wife, good for all the people that have care people with, because it means everything to us. We don't mean to get frustrated. I'm gonna apologize for Brother Gordon, because we get frustrated the way we are. We take it out of the people that are closer to us. So we apologize. But Gordon, keep going. How much keep going? What number are you on?
Oh, number 8, I got help because I cannot handle bill payments. Yeah, you talk about it's important to have support, somebody to help. Fortunately, I had my sister coming and staying with us once a week. And whenever I try to handle a bill payment on the telephone, and I can easily remember, it was so frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
I would ask the woman, typically it was a woman. I didn't like to, but when it was obvious I needed to, every time, please stop. I need to explain something to you. I had a stroke, and I would tell the story short and sweet. Please talk slowly and clearly. And, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, oh, that's okay. And then inevitably,
Yeah, no, that's
same way as before. I was so frustrated. I can't tell you how many times I hung up on somebody trying to deal with it, and so then I would just let things pile up until my sister came. Yeah, that was a big one for me.
Yeah, I can believe that, Gordon. I'll tell you what, I have a hearing deficit. And there are many times I say, look, right in front, right me talk to anybody in the phone. I've had a stroke. I have a hearing deficit. I need you to speak slowly and over articulate your words.
Yeah.
If they get right back into talking like they were, that frustrated me too. So I can relate, bro, how that feels. It just does get much more frustrating. All right, go on. What's the next one?
Well, first, I just want to tell people I'm not chuckling. None of this is funny.
Yeah.
But looking back, it's just humorous to me, because what I dealt with for so long with all of that, and then God healed me from it. Let's see. Number 9. I stayed busy until I was tired, then I slept, which was twice during the day, morning and afternoon, like I said, and at night, of course. And even still now, I don't always, but I'm aware of getting tired. And now it's more if I'm really tired, then I'll stop and I'll time myself and take a 15 or 20-minute nap during the day. And usually I'm good, and then I'll go back to work although sometimes I need to sleep for an hour, hour and a half in the middle of the day, even today, because I do too much the day before. Because I love to work in the yard. Usually that's the reason. And so number 10, I kept all doctor appointments. I wouldn't let anything interfere. And I learned early on I needed to schedule around my mother's going to doctor appointments. And so it was really important that when I scheduled an appointment, it was when I was confident enough I would keep that appointment. And with that, I recommend that people get care often enough, whether it's a therapist, physical therapist, speech therapist. For me, a fascia speech therapist therapy is really important. I still go twice a year for speech therapy. And I have about 25 lines of notes and instructions from my most recent therapy, speech therapy. And I look at those and I try to do at least some of those every day, because it does make a difference. It really does make a difference. And then also, I was really fortunate. I got a great neurologist soon after my stroke, and I still go to see him once a year. And he is very patient, understanding, and so smart. And he's so alert to aphasia for me. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, I just mentioned number 11 is every year I see a speech therapist. I used to go twice a year. For a number of years. And then number 12 is pursue understanding whatever I heard 3 times before I stopped asking. In other words, if I didn't understand what somebody said, I would say, I'm sorry, I didn't get that. And if I didn't, and usually I didn't understand it the second time. So then I would ask again. And then I just missed a word after that word. What was that word you said? If I ask a third time, then I don't keep asking. I just pretend that I understand and move on.
Yeah. Well, I think, part of what I'm hearing, you started out. So I'm assuming when you first started to, let's say, understand speech within 3 times, you put yourself in a position maybe of uncomfortableness, and then that slowly got easier because your aphasia, I can pick up on it, but it's very slight. I know many other aphasia survivors that you can't do it. You say door, and they say window. They can't do it. But you've come a long way, and I'm going to say what I'm hearing from you. It took dedication and a commitment and hard work to do it.
Yes,
you never gave up. You didn't give up, Gordon.
No, I was determined. Yeah, I was determined to get back to where I was beforehand with having enough energy, number one. And then number 2 was to understand whatever somebody said. Yeah.
right? And I think so many people out. Do you hear that? Hard work.
Oh yeah.
You want the same thing with me. I mean, I don't have a feature, but I have. I've been a wizard. I walk every day. I'm still walking. 14 years later, I have a bucket list of walking someday. So I'm saying, don't give up. Look at Gordon, become an author. I'll wake someday I'll become an author. Currently helping people. Use your stroke to help people. There are so many other people. Gordon, I can't imagine. You must have felt so isolated and alone back then.
Oh, very much.
I can't imagine that isolation. Isolation.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I was very fortunate that I could take care of my mother. So then, because I was no longer married, and then it happened, and then she and I, it's hard to even put in words what that meant for my relationship with my mother. The first, maybe as long as 2 years, she and I didn't get along all the time. Until after that, she was really my best friend for those years
Oh, oh.
before I moved on. And she moved into a facility where she still is and doing well.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. I'm wondering if there's. Let me ask one thing. If
Sure.
there's one piece of advice you give a stroke survivor, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a great question. Uh, for me, it's to humble oneself, to be willing to be willing to listen to God
And daughters.
and whether it be sisters or daughters or a wife like I'm blessed with. Yeah, but to be humble enough, open enough to then accept help. And for me, first it was from God, and second it was from my mother when it happened, and then my sister, my other sister, and so on. Yeah.
Well, I think I could relate to humbleness because I'm a firm believer. I had an near-death experience. No one on the face of this planet is ever going to tell me there is no God. Yeah, I had near-death experience. I'm working into it now, but there is. I guarantee you, there is another life outside of what you see in this earth. But what you were saying is that humble yourself. So many times, my frustration comes out of me not being humble. My frustration comes out of me comparing myself the way I was, getting angry at myself because I can't be that person anymore. And I lash out at people. And so I can understand that. And it takes being humble to have your wife tell you she doesn't understand you. What do you mean you don't understand me? I clearly a park man, so I can appreciate that. But Gordon, you know, keep on. And I think none of us should be happy if just be a stroke survivor. All of us need to become drivers, my opinion. I think that's a way to get know your purpose in life. Use your stroke as a platform to help other survivors.
Oh, I want to say one thing since you said what you just did, Aaron.
Sure.
It's worth it to work hard and to be those things you and I both just said, and giving yourself time. That's the hardest thing for me to do at first. I was so frustrating, but because I had to rest so much, I really didn't have much frustration unless I was on the telephone.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really truly survive. I didn't really think about much of anything. You know, I watched TV and I did read my Bible, and then I started reading books again for kind of an escape and maybe to learn something, or maybe just to read fiction.
Your speech back.
Yeah, and wait for my my speech would come back. I mean,
But
I can understand again.
right.
Uh,
Gordon, you know, I think that's a really great point. I think everybody needs to keep hold of the future, dreams, and positive attitude. And you heard Gordon talk about using positive affirmations. Part of it was to help us evade, but now in reality, use strokes of our gut inundated with negative thoughts, negativity, and keep yourself positive and surround yourself, inundate yourself with a mind, flood your mind with positive thoughts. Gordon, I cannot tell you, and I want to bring up your book one more time because, again, look for this book. It's gonna be in the description to purchase it, and the given link. Look at it; it's very reasonable price. Take a look, Gordon. I want to say congratulations. Thank you for being on my podcast. I really appreciate it.
oh, I'm honored to be here. Anybody that happens to be with us and see me with you and you sharing, and it just means a great deal. Thank you so much.
Well, Gordon, I appreciate anything I can do for you, bro. But thanks again. I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you very much.
Okay, so long.
Set me on fire.